Ok, bienvenidos a todos a una charla más del Business Application Latam Summit. En esta ocasión vamos a estar hablando sobre Dynamics 365 Finance. Welcome to everyone. We are here to talk about Dynamics 365 Finance. Today is with us April Olson from Microsoft, who will speak up all about the new feature and the investment for Dynamics 365 Finance. How are you, April?
Very good. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you for joining us with this session. I let you speak. I will check the question. If there are any question, I will tell you about that. Okay?
Sounds great.
Thank you.
All right. And are you able to see the presentation okay?
Yes, we are seeing
sure.
watching your presentation.
All right, welcome. Okay, well, as you mentioned, I'm April Olson. I lead the product management team for Dynamics 365 Finance. Our team is a global team. We have a lot of individuals still in what's called Fargo, North Dakota in the United States, simply because that's where way back when a company called Great Plains was started that Microsoft purchased. So we have a strong presence there, but then we also have them through the rest of the US and Canada, as well as Shanghai and soon to be India. So we're really excited to be here today. And I'm going to be representing some of the work around the team's been focused on. I'm first going to start by level setting about what we're seeing about where finance is going. So today we're going to be mostly focused on investments that are landing in Wave 2, which, as a reminder, is between October and March of next year. Our team is clearly already working on all the great things that will land in Wave 1 of 2022, but we're not able to share those today because they have not yet been disclosed. So today we'll focus on Wave 2. But why I wanted to spend a bit of time talking about it is because as I share what's currently becoming available, I want to set the stage of what you're going to see in Wave 1 and why you're going to see it. And so the first is around automation. The industry, customers, partners have all been talking about automation for the last couple of years. Robotic process automation, or RPA, has very much been a top of mind a focus, and everyone's talking about how do we get users away from doing manual tasks. And we have focused on that. I'm going to share a little bit about what we've done. But when we think about taking advantage of all the great technologies that Microsoft offers, as an organization, as a Dynamics product, we're actually able to bring that to the next level. So what we like to refer to it as continuous intelligent automation. So yes, we're investing in utilizing Power Automate, and we're investing in native process automation, and I'll share a bit about that. But now, how do we take what we have and also incorporate machine learning so that when there are anomalies or something changes or something that new comes in, it doesn't go back to that manual repetitive handling of it, or waiting for your service who's running automation to have to react to it. And so we like to refer to that as continuous intelligent automation. And I am going to talk a little bit about that today as well when I do a brief demo. The second kind of common trend and theme is really around the universe of data and common data models. We've talked a lot about common data models at Microsoft, but in finance, there's all this data. Every organization has multiple line of business applications, often multiple ERPs, depending on how they're rolling out. And then there's all this great external data as well that we want to start bringing in a schema that we can actually get good insights from so we can take action. This is a lot easier said than done, of course, but this is something that as a Microsoft organization and as a Dynamics, we really want to take the best that Microsoft offers, things like the data lake and Synapse, and really look forward to how to resolve this problem. How do we bring this as a solution to companies that want to utilize Dynamics? So this will be a major theme and major investment for us going forward. The third thing, and I'm only going to talk about two more, is around business models in a changing economy. In years past, we've seen many organizations go into what they like to refer to as a subscription-based services. You know, telecom and some utilities have been there all along. Sometimes they're changing or simplifying their offerings, but many organizations are looking at how do we more accurately get that monthly recurring revenue, have the subscriptions for that constant service offering to our customers. And likewise, how does that work for reporting and analytics? How do I see what my customer churn is? And so many of the investments and pain points around this really need to go in and solve things like consumption billing and different price matrices. So different complexities that come with that. So this is another big trend that we're seeing that we're looking at. The last one I'm going to cover on this slide is the bullet that says AI democratization and intelligent insights. I'm going to spend a few minutes today demoing this, but we have our first AI in finance about to be released in general availability. And so I want to just take a minute and show you all what this is, so that if you haven't seen it already, you're prepared and aware of what's coming, because we're just getting started in bringing AI out of the box to finance customers. And a core principle really around all of this, and something that Microsoft just stands by, is we're trying to do everything where it's configurable, no code or low code. You know, we want to take away the risk that customers have when they're expanding globally, when a regulation changes, when business models change, like the economy going through a pandemic. No one was prepared for these things. And to react to them, we still need to make sure we're giving software solutions that are configurable and personable, able to be personalized, excuse me, but to take away that risk so you can react quickly. And all of it comes down to is the finance personas are shifting. They want to spend more time on value-added activities, less on manual repetitive tasks. And what can we do now and in the future to enable them? So let's talk a little bit about automation. It has been top of mind for a very long time. We've done a lot of investments in the last 12 to 15 to 18 months. And I want to share a little bit about that, because like I said, we're just getting started. So where we've invested in the last 12 to 18 months are on two major aspects. The first is on the right, which is finance process automation. We've built in Dynamics 365 Finance our own native process automation framework that enabled us to take key tasks, key things that users do on a daily or monthly basis, and automate them. And where we started to focus, first of all, was around the cash flow forecasting process. So thinking about cash coming in on the accounts receivables, you've got collections that happen around that. How do we automate all the tasks around collections to save those users almost a day a week sometimes to follow up on some of those activities? So we've introduced an entire collections framework around this, or what we like to refer to as collection strategies, so that you can create those business rules and those any changes around that to automate that process. And then when we think about cash going out in the cash flow forecast, it's really around accounts payable. And so in, I think January last year, we introduced invoice automation. So we only focused on one way to do the vendor invoice for now, and we're going to expand that. But really, if you think about AP automation in general, there's really almost two phases. One is getting the invoices in, and then the second phase is once they're in the system, how do you automatically process those through the system so that users don't have to touch them? And that's really where we focused on invoice matching and posting of those invoices, all the way through vendor payments and setting it up so you can actually have those vendors paid. So that was the other aspect that we really focused on, and then all of the different tasks around cash flow as well. Now, if you look over to the left, we didn't stop there. Obviously, being Microsoft, we've got the advantage of taking advantage of all the greatness, including Power Automate. So they just started to release some templates kind of in preview around automating some of the period end tasks utilizing Power Automate. So again, we're only just getting started on this, but you can see it's been a big investment area for us, and it will continue to. When those release plans come out next year to kind of forecast what's coming in wave one, you're just going to see more focus and momentum around making sure we're automating key finance processes. So I want to dig a little bit deeper into core finance here for a minute. So again, we're only really sharing what's coming in this particular wave, but I do have one little kind of preview for one aspect that is coming, that is planned. And so this is very specific, but we have a lot of enhancements coming around ledger settlement. So when you think about that automation, we focused on that cash flow. Period end is a next natural place for us to go with automation. Obviously, we want to continue to do more around collections and cash, but period end, you know, there's nothing more predictable than running period end because everybody does it. And so one of the key areas we've gotten a lot of feedback around is ledger settlements. And so we have a wave of enhancements coming for ledger settlements. And when I mean a wave, I mean it'll actually bubble or filter in through different releases. So let me break it out a little bit more. The first one that's in progress is we're making a lot of what I'll call smaller enhancements to the ledger settlement process. And these enhancements are driven by user feedback, driven by some things that we didn't think working optimally within the product. But there's some work around reporting and inquiries and making sure that they use the settlement date. There was some work around year-end close where we were handling opening balances. And we're going to create those for unsettled transactions only. And then keeping some transaction detail for unsettled transactions. So we wanted to make sure we really kind of fixed the surrounding core part before we added automation to this. So this will come out early in this wave 2 of 2021. And then what you'll start to see then is once that kind of base is set, we're going to enhance it even more. We're going to add automation around it. So there's a lot of work happening around the user experience and to be able to set up rules to do the matching. And then we're going to support partial settlement. And there's also some work happening around gain and losses. So this is a big area of core finance automation coming together for our users in the new year. And I'm not going to cover this slide in too much, but it's just a little bit of a preview for you kind of to see how we're going to set up the scheduling, how we're going to do some filtering, and then defining the match criteria as well. I will tell you on this screen, you'll see that there's a bit of a new concept you might not have known about before, but we understand that customers are going to be wanting to do matching on things that are not maybe just financial dimensions. Although financial dimensions are probably common and the most critical, there are always other fields, user-defined fields or attributes that they might want to use. So we are evaluating needs like that as well for the settlement process from our customers. So definitely reach out if that is something of interest for you, or you have needs in this area. We'd love to talk to you and learn a bit more so we can make sure when we release this, we have a great solution for our users. So the next thing I'm going to cover is around that bringing AI to finance. And I am going to take a little bit of I'm going to stop sharing my screen here in a bit. I'm actually going to do 2 short demos through a prototype, simply just due to simplicity. But I'm going to show you what finance is and why it's important. So first of all, we actually did a private preview for Finance Insights back in 2020. And we've been bringing customers along for this ride because obviously everyone talks about AI and everybody wants AI, but it's the barrier to entry is very high still. Most organizations that want to use it still need to have a data scientist on staff. They need to have developers as well as business users who can articulate how things should work and what they want to get out of it. And what Microsoft is doing, or what Dynamics is offering as a solution, is an out-of-the-box, quick startup way to bring AI to the fingertips of end users. And we're shipping 3 different scenarios that are based off of this. And one is customer payment predictions, one is intelligent cash flow forecasting, and the third is intelligent budget proposals. So the customer payment predictions, and I'm going to demo this, really help users have insight into when a customer will pay. Will it be late? Will it be on time? What are the chances that it'll be on time? And how did we come up with that prediction? We know that AI is still a very exciting thing. We also know that finance and business decision makers are still needing to find a way to trust it. And so by showing you how we came up with those predictions is really helping establish, what about your data gave us this indication? And I'll showcase that when I demo it. The second thing, which I will also demo, is the intelligent cash flow forecasting. So again, once you've got your data in, you want to be able to see what's my cash position. What do I think my cash position is going to be in the future? How does all of this data come together to get me a cash flow, and how can I measure its success? So we've added AI as well to that process. And then the third and final is the intelligent budget proposal. And again, this is still just using models to predict what your budget should be based on all your historical data. We went to public preview with Finance Insights in July. And we are ready to GA any day now. So this is why I wanted to spend some time showing it to you so you know what's coming. Through our public and our private previews, as we've worked with customers, out of the box model was actually showing 78% model accuracy for customer payment predictions. We also have a way that I'll show where you can personalize it. And once organizations were making those changes based on the fields that they thought were important, we were getting up to 82% model accuracy. So as you can see, we've been processing a lot of inferences, doing a lot of work in this area, and we're really excited to bring it to general availability. So with that, I'm going to do a demo. So give me a second here to turn off my camera. I'm going to share the screen and walk through 2 short demos. All right, hopefully everyone has seen a screen called Finance Insights Parameters. I'll watch the chat in case there's any sharing issues. But let's first talk about the core piece of information I was talking about, which is bringing AI to Dynamics out of the box, taking away all the complexities around the technology that is required to do this. And so really what we wanted to do was make it simple. And so when we go to and you enable Finance Insights within Dynamics 365 Finance, you will enable the feature. By enabling the feature, You'll notice that we're using technology from Microsoft called the AI Builder, and we've shipped models out of the box. And these models will start to train based on your data. So the only field you have to enter is what you consider to be a very late transaction. So if I want to say that 30 days is considered a very late transaction, I will enter that field and start to create my predictions. So this is going to utilize the data that you have. Obviously, the more data you have, the more accurate it will get as the model trains off your data. But we have seen very good success with about a month of invoices, or maybe 1,000 or more. So we're starting to see some very good predictions based off a very small amount of data. Now, as the prediction model finishes training, you'll see what we believe is the accuracy shown on that model based on some of the algorithms and tests that we have. You'll notice over here you can set your schedule, and you can also choose to improve model accuracy. But before we do that, let's go take a look at what it looks like in the UI. So here I am on my customer credit and collections page, and you'll notice in these the two tiles on the right, I have two new ones: customers predicted to pay late and transactions predicted to pay late. As I click on the transactions predicted to pay late, this is a list of all my different transactions. You'll notice there is an on-time probability column that shows you what that probability is to be paid late, as well as some additional information about the transaction. If you look over to the right in the pane called Related Information, you'll see that for this particular transaction for Contoso Retail San Diego, there's a 27% chance it'll be paid on time, 40% chance that it'll be paid late, and a 33% chance that it'll be paid very late. Going back to what I mentioned about everyone still is learning to trust and understand what AI is doing, we're showing you what the top factors are based on your data that is saying that this transaction could be late. And it was the amount, the location, and the payment method. So we're trying to show as much data as we can as you start to utilize these payment predictions in your organization. And then the rest of the pane, of course, has a lot more information about this transaction, what we call customer insights, such as the number of invoices, late invoices, number of cases and activities open, etc. Now, you can choose to improve the model accuracy. So let's just say the out-of-the-box model is working great, but there are specific fields in your organization that are critical, and you want to make sure that they are weighted and take an important part of the prediction. When you click on that Improve Accuracy, you'll be redirected to AI Builder, where you'll be able to personalize that those fields that are used in that model. So you can choose here, you'll notice that we have amount and discount percent. You might want to include transaction type. Perhaps for your organization, there's collection letter sent. But this is your opportunity in a low-code, no-code way to personalize AI out of the box for finance. All right. I'm going to stop sharing that. That was just one example of how it's all coming together for predictions. All right, and I'm going to do one more brief demo here. Okay, great. Hopefully you can see a screen called Cash Flow Forecast. So starting to add predictions throughout the application embedded within finance is really important. And like I said, we are just getting started on all the things that we're going to be able to do. But when it comes down to it, how do I bring this all together to see what my cash flow is and what it's going to be? because really that's the holy grail of finance, is cash flow. So we are introducing a new hub called Cash Flow Forecast, or a new workspace, I should call it, an experience for the treasurer to see what that cash flow should be. And you'll notice it says all companies, so you're going to be able to look at this across all your organizations or just for a single company. And you're also going to be able to view it by currency. Now, this new experience or workspace is going to have a daily cash position, and you're going to see some graphics that show you the bank balance, cash inflows, and cash outflows. Down below, there's additional information on aged balances for each of your customers and days sales outstanding. And of course, likewise, the same for vendor. What's my days payable outstanding? What is some additional insight into my vendors? And then down below, all the different bank accounts and information and balances about those bank accounts as well, that all kind of bring together this single view for a treasurer. In addition, you'll have your cash position. And you'll notice across the top, you'll be able to look at your cash position daily, weekly, monthly, or quarterly, and you'll be able to change the date range. And again, that same type of view of your inflows, your outflows, and that projected cash balance, as well as additional details down below about the cash on hand by those different accounts. Then the cash forecast is really, you'll notice there's this actual and projected. This is showing you where you're at, and this is where we're utilizing that intelligence to predict out what this will be. And this is going to be constantly changing based on your data, because we also know that external data, if I draw your attention to the upper right, is critical when it comes to cash flow. So what we've done is taking advantage of the existing frameworks of Dynamics, made an easy way to bring in external data that is also included in this cash flow forecast. Now, when it comes to cash flow forecasting, it's a tough thing to do. It's usually something that someone in the organization knows how to do. They probably are doing it very manually in Excel, but it's also difficult to understand if you're successful and how you can measure that success. So we've introduced, and you'll see here, a snapshot, and I'll go to the snapshots tab. A way for you to create snapshots of that cash position or that cash forecast, and it'll capture the period, start and end dates, your income and expenses, your balances, and who is created by, so that you can go ahead and as you move forward, compare that with how you actually did. So that if you make decisions based on what your forecast can be and a quarter passes, how accurate was that forecast? So it's now going to give you that way to really do that comparison and measure success. All right, I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint here. One second, just sharing my screen again. So as you can see, we're really excited to bring AI out of the box to you. As I mentioned in the timeline, we are ready to make this generally available any day. So if you're interested, there's some documentation, there's some marketing material, and you'll start to see more of it. Really, it's ready. You will be provided a set of AI Builder credits to help you get started, so that you can see how this can help change your business and how it can help improve your cash flow. So with that, that's the big investment coming in this wave. I'm going to jump forward to a couple other changes and then a timeline view. This is not so much a new set of finance feature, but a change. You know, we have, as a Dynamics organization, released a ton of features in the last few years. And we bring these features for you to control how you would like to utilize them in feature management. And in feature management, we've made some changes. And if the audio works, I'd love to show the video. We'll see if it doesn't work, I can just talk through it while it plays. But really, with October, we have added a new field called Preview. This is an optional stage where a user turns on that feature. We've had a column called Released, and then On by Default. And so On by Default, what that will mean and why you should care is if there is a feature, let's say in accounts payable, that you have not enabled, and it's a somewhat critical feature, it will be turned on automatically on the second major release. So let's say I release this in June. October is the first major release. You still have complete control. And then the following April, after that release, then it has the ability to be turned on by default. So these changes are coming, and I just wanted to take a little bit of time to play this video. If someone wants to let me know in the chat if you can hear it or not, once I hit play, that'd be great. And if you can't hear the audio, then I will certainly stop it and just talk through more changes.
Feature management has been updated for the 10.0.21 release. These changes target our needs to progress our features through their lifecycle stages to ensure our features.
Please let me know if it's not working audio-wise.
The primary changes that were made on the workspace was the introduction of the feature state column. What this allows for is for us to clearly communicate to our customers what state a feature is in, and as we start being more standard in our progressions of each of these feature states, they can follow along and see what we did at each major release. So a typical flow that we expect for a feature is it's either introduced as a preview feature or a standard off by default opt-in feature that is on or before a specific major release. After the second major release, we expect those features to progress to on by default. And then finally, with the second major release after they are introduced, we would expect those features to become mandatory and then just be the new system default behavior, and thus ending the life cycle of a feature. We've built up over the last couple of years quite a bit of features now to the point where it's becoming overwhelming to change, and that's the motivation behind this. Previously, on by default was a supported feature state. It just wasn't disclosed, and it only impacted new features, not existing features. In order to help customers manage this, it is a filterable field. And it also allows them to highlight and find changes where they did not opt into the feature. So anywhere where the enable date and the feature added date match, or before the deployment date of a major update, it means they opted into it. Here would be an example where they could identify that with the update, this one occurred on 7/22, we opted into it, Microsoft, because it was switched to on by default. The other updates for the workspace, we did do some UX cleanup, and we also did an accessibility issue with the preview terms. Previously, this was a hard-coded string that was not accessible, and now it's a proper link, so that as we introduce preview features, customers can properly read the terms. Thank you.
Great. So I'm glad the audio worked. But this is important because this is going to determine how you see changes happening in feature management. There's some documentation that's coming out that shares this with you a little bit, because, you know, as you can see, there's lots of core features. There are features that are specific to countries. And so please keep an eye on that documentation, but we really wanted to draw awareness to this. The key thing, besides major features, is there's so many usability enhancements in feature management. And we understand and we've heard feedback that everyone's not always aware of why they should turn on a feature. And usually it's because we've heard feedback from users that are using the product every day and they wanted it to be an enhanced experience. So definitely keep an eye on that for your organizations, and those will be some changes that are coming. So now the pain slide. Here's a list of lots of stuff that's just happening in wave 1 and wave 2. I certainly did not talk about all of this today. I certainly didn't demonstrate all of this today. But this will be just my pitch to make sure you're watching the release plan. So let's focus on wave 2. I demonstrated finance insights. Again, this is the predictions and the customer payments. This is the cash flow forecasting and the intelligent budget proposal. But if you think back to that first slide where I said, where is automation going? And we'll call it continuous intelligent automation. You'll notice that the collection strategies and the automation around collections we've previously shipped. Now it's actually going to use those predictions from AI to drive that automation. So this is that continuous intelligent automation and where we're going. So that is actually released as well in wave 2. The second thing is there's a lot, we had released asset leasing a year ago, November, and asset leasing and fixed assets, we've made just a ton of enhancements to. Once we got that out the door, we really worked with customers to make sure that the whole surrounding end-to-end process was effective for them and it was meeting their needs. And so we've added what I would say a lot of smaller features to make sure that asset leasing and fixed assets was really working for our customers. So there's a lot of detail out on the documentation on this. There's some tech talks on asset leasing. So I can certainly work with the group if you want access to those or you need those links, but lots of great information on this. The third aspect is moving towards year-end close enhancements, as well as a private preview for a microservice. So year-end close, everybody runs it. It's a very stressful time of year as finance and accounting are working hard to close the books and get reports out, moving into audit. More and more organizations are growing, transaction volumes are increasing, and more legal entities are being processed at the same time. So we are making some enhancements around year-end close. So please keep an eye on those release plans, and I'm happy to walk through them with you if anyone wants to see them. But there's two aspects. One, we're making some enhancements around the user experience, traceability. So very similar to how we do the revaluation, where you can see who ran the process, when it was last run, full audit trail. We've done that same type of enhancements to the year-end close process. So that's kind of phase 1 of year-end close. The second thing is we are going to be doing a private preview of the year-end close microservice. And really what this is doing is it's modernizing the architecture by utilizing microservices to do that heavy processing in a service-based architecture. And we've seen some great success on our testing on this, performance-wise, memory-wise, stability-wise. And so we actually will be running this microservice with a few customers and vendors, a few customers and partners in the new year between January and March. And then once we have it stable and ready to release, we'll make it generally available for the entire population. And so whether your year end is this year or it's mid-year or next year, that's something to be looking forward to. So if it's something you're interested in, super happy to engage your organization in this private preview. And then the last kind of thing, again, lots of usability enhancements. You'll start to see some, not just around fixed assets, but GL, AP. So keep an eye on those release plans, as well as the ledger settlement enhancements. So that's where we're at for wave 2 of 2021. We will have some time for questions as well. And so if you want to add them in the Q&A or unmute, we can take those questions. One kind of preview is what's next. So our release plans for 2022 will be released usually in around the January or February timeframe. So that's when a lot of the information that we're currently working on that we can't yet disclose will become available. You can probably start to think, if I go back to that beginning slide and that future of finance, some of the key themes that we're focused on, that universe of data, that subscription economy, lots of great things happening there. So keep an eye on those release plans for what's coming in 2022. So with that, that's what I wanted to share with you today. Thank you so much for your time, and we do have some time for questions, so happy to watch the chat or take them live.
Okay. Thank you, April. There is no question in the chat from today. Please, if anyone have any question, please write on the chat. Si alguien tiene alguna pregunta que quiera hacerle a April, por favor, escríbanos en el chat. Okay, April, until the people start writing his question, I have to thank all of you, Microsoft product team, for giving such a good product to improve businesses and productivity. We all love your product. We enjoy using the product every day in our organization or working with customers to improve their processes. These products are amazing. Thank you all for your work.
Well, thank you, because how, of course, we approach product management and development is working with partners and customers like you to get feedback. So I do want to encourage you to reach out. Reach out to me anytime, share feedback. What are your pain points? What do you love? What's going well? What could go better? Those are so important for us, so we make sure we're investing in the things you care about. So don't ever be afraid to reach out and provide us that feedback. It's really important for us.
Okay, is there any website where the people can give their feedback?
Yes, that's a great question. I'm going to actually open that website up since we have a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
And I'd like to show that to you. So give me a second to load it. I feel like some people are aware of this and some are not. So I'm going to share my screen. Are you able to see that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can see it.
All right, and I'm going to put this in the chat too. So out on experience.dynamics.com, I'll put the link in the window. You'll notice there is a few tiles that you can access. And I'm going to talk about the first, the four. The first is, to your point, the idea site. And when you go out on this idea site, you'll be able to see the Dynamics 365 applications. And if you scroll down, you'll see Dynamics 365 Finance. When you go into Finance, you will see all the different modules, and you'll be able to look at the suggestions or the ideas that other customers have logged for that particular module. So for example, in accounts payable, which is our second most used module other than GL, you'll see that we have one that is called vendor invoice number. The field's too short. It's still limited to 20 digits. This is something you'll see that there's some comments on it, so you can read comments, you can vote on it, but you'll also see that this is planned. So you can actually come out here and see that, oh, this feature that I also need is actually planned in 2022 release wave 1. So that's a really good way to kind of monitor what's going on. But then you'll notice there's some that are under review, so you can vote on them, and of course you can enter new suggestions as well. So this is a great way to communicate. Of course, you can all send me an email too, but great way to kind of track what's going on from other customers and enter those ideas. So now let me go back. I want to cover couple other things real quick.
Mm-hmm.
The second one that I want to show you is that roadmap. I keep talking about those release plans. Again, you saw that invoice number was planned. Well, how do you go about finding out when it's coming? If you go to that roadmap tile and again go to finance, you'll be able to see there's this link called View the Release Plan. When you come to this View the Release Plan, there's a table. And it tells you when it's going to be generally available or if there is a public preview. So you can monitor this page or subscribe to this page and see when all these different things are coming. You'll notice there's a ton of smaller usability enhancements that are really important. And here's that increased length of invoice numbers. If you want to learn more about it, you can click on it and there'll be some brief details. This is a very agile page. So as we're getting feedback from you and we're enhancing it and developing on it, we'll add it to this list. So that's another key piece for the roadmap. The last two tiles were just around, here, let me unpin this, the community. You know, through this community event, there's a lot of great material out on the community. Finance has the second most active community after Business Central. So that's pretty exciting. So you can go out there for questions and feedback. Just go back to that main page. And then the last thing is the Insider program. If you want to be an early adopter, if you want to have preview to what's coming before it's available, you can also join that Insider program. It'll give you access to private previews as well as early drops so that you can test it and provide feedback. So this experience.dynamics.com is a great way to engage with product group and a great way to kind of get ahead and see what's going on in the Dynamics products.
Yeah, that is very good because, for example, MVPs, Microsoft MVPs have access, direct access to you, but the customer and other professional is a little bit hard to reach you. So this is a great way to engage with you and keep informed about the new releases, about the give you feedback. Okay. So that is very, very good. And I have to point out one thing. In the last years, Microsoft is opening to all of comments and feedback that people can give. Yeah, and you are using this feedback to improve the product. So it's very, very important that users, customers, professional partners give feedback, because if we want to take advantage of these changes, we have to communicate, we have to inform, we have to share our pains with you, with Microsoft, in order to contribute to a better product from you.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. So, it's great.
Yeah. So April, thank you so much for your time, for your presentation. I'm sure even the audience was very shy. All of us enjoy a lot your presentation. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
I hope see you on other event.
Yes. Thank you for your time. I hope the rest of the event is great. I think my counterpart Sergey is up next, I believe.
Yeah, exactly.
Good, great. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, April. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.